How's your goodbye tour?
Confusing. I mean, can't someone just tell me exactly what to do, but in a way that makes it seem like it's my idea?
Yes. You should have sex before you leave, because I don't know what kind of dick's gonna be up in the boondocks.
Great idea. I will call up one of the guys who would love to have sex with this.
I'm sure there's plenty of quality people who would love to have sex with what you got going on and not murder you.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am leaving too early, and I haven't, made a proper mark on this city.
Hannah, you've made so many wonderful friendships here. That's not a thing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We are just two boys watching HBO's Girls. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And we are at the penultimate episode of this series. We are talking about Season 6, Episode 9, overall Episode 61. It is titled Goodbye Tour. It is directed by Nisha Ganatra. This is a new director. It was written by Jenny Connor and Lena Dunham. The original air date was April 9th, 2017, to an audience of 734,000 people, 0.734 million. This is a big episode, Vance.
Is that a higher number than normal? I stopped paying attention like 10 episodes ago.
No, this is kind of like on par for what's been going on with this season. It's a little high, but it's not crazy.
Did you think this episode felt like it was directed by a different director? It kind of has a different feel to it a little bit.
Yeah, this one felt a bit more dramatic than some of the other ones. I thought it was maybe a Judd Apatow one because it kind of has like a bittersweet type of thing.
Yeah, but they went hard. They went a little harder. So, Yeah. I'm sure he had his hand in the story or throughout the whole series. But this one felt like it had the edge that I like for girls episodes to have. We'll get into it, but yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I felt like this could have been the last episode. This could have been the series finale.
Absolutely. I was watching it and I was like, is the next episode just going to be like a making of girls or something? I was like, what do we need to wrap up really? Yeah,
this episode felt like it had a finality to it, that it was like it wrapped up everything. Mm-hmm. You kind of got to see an arc, and I don't know what they're going to do for the last episode, but this one felt like, this was the end.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. If that was to happen,
you know what? Let's not do the next episode, Vance.
Yeah, we on this podcast are claiming this is the last episode. So
yeah, canonically, Boys Watching Girls, except we haven't seen the last episode.
No,
but we accept this one as the last episode.
It kind of makes sense now why people are kind of down on the finale, I think. Because I don't know how you...
Yeah, off air, Vance has been telling me for a couple weeks now that the finale episode is the lowest rated episode of this series.
At least this season, according to IMDb.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, I felt like this one had a good wrap up. It felt like everything came to a close. And then I saw coming up next, the next episode. And I was like, why? This felt done.
Yeah,
it felt complete.
I don't need to see her have the baby if that's it,
Yeah. That's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah. And I get maybe wrap up some stuff with the mom. And I don't know if we need to wrap up anything with Desi and Marnie. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You know what? We got to see Ray.
Oh, yeah. We got to get a closure on Ray.
Yeah. But I'm completely fine if this was the last episode, like you said.
Yeah. There's some big surprises here. There's some big surprising revelations. There's some big surprising comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
So the episode starts with Hannah walking around a college campus, it looks like. You hear people saying, like, hey, let's meet up on the quad. And I was like, where? Are we back in Iowa? Like, is this a flashback episode? Like, what's going on here?
I was like, this looks too nice to be Manhattan. Really?
Right?
New York City.
But turns out she's at a college campus, and she's just walking around, taking in the view and all that jazz. She sees a couple of students having a conversation about some kind of friend that they have who's either bisexual or pansexual or some kind of sexual.
Poly.
Yeah. And she walks up to them and she's like, well, tries to impart life advice, I guess. She's just like, you need to cherish these friendships because friendships are the only love that you really ever know. And romantic love can die, but friendship love will never end or some shit.
Yeah. And I knew this would be like, okay, this is the setup for this to be the friend episode. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and the kids all look at her like, who the fuck are you, lady? I think one of the guys is like, is that somebody's mom?
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Well, they didn't go like, oh no, I think she's continuing ed. And they're like, oh, so sad. It's a good way to kind of, it's not even the end of the cold open because it continues, but yeah.
Yeah. So Hannah walks into some lady's office and she's there for a job interview with a woman named Phaedra?
Phaedra? Yeah.
Yeah. Who is a creative writing professor, and she's a fan of Hannah's work online. She thinks that she's a rock star writer, and she wants her to basically teach the kids at this university how to write for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Because Hannah knows like the lingo and how to navigate that world.
Yeah.
And they're hitting it off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're having a good time.
The thing that got me was when she says the line, what is it, that she wants to like influx the school with like young, vibrant talent, like a young cock or whatever.
Yeah.
And like that threw Hannah off a bit.
Yeah.
Which is like, at that point, she should have just accepted the job. Because this was like a grown-up Hannah. It was like Hannah was looking into the future. And it was like, oh, yeah, that's me. Like she's talking about her breasts and like how she knew she was pregnant. And like she's saying all the most inappropriate stuff that like her last teaching job, that guy would have never said.
Yeah, Fran would have been clutching his pearls.
Well, not Fran, but the principal guy.
Well, yeah. No, but Fran would have as well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Hannah didn't show this lady her vagina.
No, Fran would have desperately tried to stay with her regardless of all of his warning signs.
Oh man. So
Fran would have gave her tenure.
Yeah. So they're vibing really hard, and there's a talk about young cock, and Hannah's like, I don't need. I'm sure that you probably are aware my body isn't this weird normally. I'm pregnant, but I fully plan on working through all of this. And I worked through a musical stage production of some musical. And she had like some kind of spinal problem. She's like, I can get through anything.
Yeah. Spinal meningitis, she said. But yeah, it's like, I'm surprised Hannah didn't, caveat it being like, I will have to take a week off, like.
Yeah. So yeah, that's looking pretty good for Hannah. She leaves and pretty much immediately on the train ride back to New York gets offered the position.
Mm-hmm. And did you notice what magazine she was reading?
No, I didn't.
It was
what was it?
It was Poets and Writers. I don't know if that's a real magazine or not, but it looks so TV show fake.
Watch it be like a real publication and somebody listening is like, I write for them.
Magazines don't exist anymore.
Hannah's walking through this campus and there's some kind of like folk music playing that's like, oh, this is the start of a new chapter. And then it smash cuts to Hannah on the train listening to like some kind of like trash pop song. It's like, my pussy's the greatest, or some shit like that.
I thought that was great. That was a great edit.
Yeah, it was hilarious. So then she gets the phone call. The lady's like, hey, I discussed it with my colleagues. And even though that there are old, stuffy white guys with wrinkly gray balls, they want to bring you on board and we're going to offer you the position. And Hannah's like, oh my God, that was really fast. You must have been really impressed with my work. But I'm going to need 24 hours to think about it, because my mom always said to take 24 hours to sleep on things and take into account everything. And she never did that before, and none of her jobs have worked out before, so she's trying a new thing. So
she was saying none of her jobs worked out. Hannah's saying none of hers.
Hannah's jobs haven't worked out because she's kind of just accepted them right away usually. So this time around,
great thing to say when you're being offered a job,
right? Right?
like yeah,
none of my jobs have ever worked out. I'm kind of a shit employee, I guess.
And she's like, sure, let me know on Monday.
Yeah. And then title card. So then after the title card, we got Hannah breaking the news.
It's so matter of fact. Okay, title card. And now scene 10B.
We come back from break. Hannah is breaking the news to Elijah, who is not taking it well. She's saying, like, I got offered this job in upstate New York, and it seems like a really good position. And Elijah's like, yeah, but what are you fucking going to do in upstate New York? Why would you leave the greatest city in the world? It's going to suck up there. And Hannah's like, it's not going to suck. It's a nice job. I get benefits and stuff, and it's like so hard to make a living here. And Elijah's like, do you remember when we first moved here? And Hannah goes on this whole story about how he proposed to her on St. Mark's Place, which is a street in New York. And after he proposed, he started crying because he got chlamydia, and he was trying to convince Hannah that he got it from a toilet seat in a McDonald's, I think it was. And then Elijah's like, no. That's not what this is about. We made an oath to each other to stick it out in New York City, no matter how miserable it got, no matter how much we suffered, because that's what dreams are made of, basically. And Hannah's like, yeah, maybe not. This place kind of sucks and I don't have any more to give.
Is this a little retro, like, rewriting of history that they moved to New York together?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that.
Well, when we first saw him, maybe she hadn't seen him in a while. I remember when he first was introduced, like he was in town.
Yeah.
I thought he was like in town visiting or something, and she met up because she thought he had, I don't know. Because the first time he's introduced is when she thinks he gave her HPV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But whatever. That's not whatever. Doesn't matter.
Elijah's giving her all kinds of STDs, isn't he?
In this scene, he's kind of like Jessa when she was moving to Iowa, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird for Elijah to have these thoughts. Like, I get that they want to have this argument, but like, he left New York and went to Iowa and stayed there and came back later. Like, she left and came back to New York, and he didn't go back right with her. And
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, she went to Iowa, like, and he didn't have this hissy fit. Like,
and then he stayed in
Iowa.
Hannah's
moved,
and then he stayed in Iowa after she left.
Well, they've also been friends on and off throughout this whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not. And now he's going to get all pissy because Hannah got offered a good job.
You know,
she's like trying to think of herself.
You know what happened? The guys have completely taken over the girls' roles in this. Like, Ray is now Shoshanna. Elijah is now either Marnie or Jessa, or a combination of the two. Like, everybody's best friend is now one of the dudes.
Yeah, man. I don't know. But yeah, it seems like Hannah's like, yeah, I don't have anything else to give. I'm not going to make any kind of impact on this city. And, it sucks to live here, which I get. That's partially why I left. Living in New York is hard and it sucks.
I will say living in New York, like I like New York. But when you go back to visit, you definitely realize like this episode did a great job of her just walking and subwaying everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is about 75% of your day is walking to a subway station, getting on a subway, going somewhere. If you don't stay there that long, doing the exact same thing. And I was like,
I will say that like this episode in particular, more than any episode of Girls, had made me kind of nostalgic for living in New York, though.
Oh yeah, the weather looks great. Like when she's walking down McDougal on that like west side, I was like, oh yeah, that is nice. Yeah.
But then you forget about like the 8-month winter that occurs, and you don't see her stepping in those fucking puddles in the winter that you think are street, but they're not, and you just get ankle deep.
I mean, it's a good weather day because like last episode it was a heat wave and they were burning up. So
so after that, Hannah's about to go to bed and she asks Elijah to come sleep with her, and he's like, no. And then he's like, wait, did you mean for sex? And she's like, no, but would that have made a difference? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
So then she asks him to sing for her, and then he starts singing Demi Lovato's Cool for the Summer.
Yeah.
In like a weird ballady way.
I'm going to say their apartment has great acoustics.
Oh,
the acoustics in that apartment are amazing. And I love in that last scene, he was like, I'm not going to move upstate with you and be your Tad. Well, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that line,
good.
yeah. But yeah, because the plan was that she's going to have Elijah help raise the baby. Like, everybody's offering to help her, and then she's like, I'm going to move upstate. And then they're all like, well, I'm not going to move upstate to help you.
Well, I mean, she's got to help herself. I mean, when Elijah tells her you can get you're going to get a house and a job and all stuff, and she's like, yeah, all of those things.
Yeah.
Like, this job is like,
what are you going to...
a no-brainer just because she has a kid on the way. It's stable.
Yeah. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. And the job
what are you going to get, a
fun.
house?
Yeah.
You're going to get a house, get a job, and write? She's like, I'm going to do all of those things. I also like that they're both wearing like bandanas in this scene when they're arguing with each other. It was so weird. A weird little like best friend touch. Mm-hmm. So then she is in Washington Square Park with her dad, and I can't remember her fucking dad's boyfriend's name.
Keith. I want to say Keith.
All right, we'll go with Keith. I'm trusting you here.
Yeah.
But she's telling her dad and Keith about the job offer, and the dad's like, you should absolutely do this. It's like, this makes so much sense. You're pregnant. You're going to fucking need a job. It pays well. It's got benefits. Absolutely. And it's not even that far away. Like, we could visit. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump to get there. Like, we could take a bus. And Hannah's like, would you really actually take a bus? And the dad's like, no, it's just a figure of speech. Like, it's to convey that it's not that far.
Yeah.
So they're all on board with it. But Keith is this guy that always plants a seed of doubt. Mm-hmm. And Keith's thing is like, he's like, I support your decision to leave, but I'm saying if I left, I would have never met your father, and we wouldn't have never met. And New York has changed my life magically for the better.
Well, with Keith, he's always got the opposite, but it's not always in the same direction. Because Keith was the one who told her that she should call Paul Louis. Yeah, and here he's saying, "Oh, maybe don't just give up on New York," but not really. Yeah. I feel like he was saying that, and it wasn't definitive. It was just like him wanting to say he met on gay.com, and it just like fortuitous,
Yeah, I think that he is the guy that's like, I fully support all of your decisions, but here is the other thing to consider. Like, he's not trying to convince her, but he's like, this is what's to consider, what you should consider when you're doing this. And I think that's important, and I think that's a good role.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what she's gonna consider, though, it's not really it's not really much to weigh on. It's stay here, and I guess you can stay there and write freelance for the internet, as she's been called to do.
Yeah.
Can I say my biggest issue with this thing is like she's getting a job that she's had before in a higher, level. She's been a teacher before, and she's also written stuff for the internet before. So it's like it's interesting that her like comeback to writing has been like her doing it all over again. And I really thought the book deal was going to be something that came up. It might still happen. One episode left, but yeah.
My issue with it is like, in order to work for a college, I feel like you need to be more qualified.
Well, that they started with that sentence of like, oh, I thought you needed to have a master's degree and stuff. And that lady was like, no, you write for the internet. You have more experience and your stuff rocks. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
No, if you're like a person that actually did stuff, like a lot of like film school stuff, it's people that made movies and stuff that are teaching or wrote for TV.
I guess that makes sense. So yeah, that's that little conversation with her dad. The dad's fully on board with it. Keith seems on board with it, but it wants her to consider all options. And after this, she tries to call Marnie, who doesn't answer. Foreshadowing. And then she goes into an enchantment store. And it's like, all those fucking crystals and good luck beads and shit like that. And she sees two girls that look like they've just moved to New York too. And they're having their conversation about like, oh, it's going to be so awesome when we're living here. And like, you're my best friend and nothing's ever going to change. And we're going to live forever. And Hannah's just looking at him like, oh, I was that girl once.
Yeah, this is the one like heavy-handed moment. Like there's the opening moment with a group of friends and her saying, cherish this moment, don't sleep on your friendship. And then she randomly just walks into this store. She's not looking to buy anything. She's just here so she can run into those girls. It just, and what they were saying just seems so on the nose. You're my best friend. You're my best friend. Like, like, all right, we got it. We get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hannah's just looking longingly at them like, oh, I remember my early 20s. And now she's in her late 20s. I believe they're 28 now.
Yeah. 27, 28. Yeah.
Yeah. 28 and pregnant. And,
we've all
much
been
more
there.
Mature. Yeah. So then she just walks out of that store. She
got it. She got the information she needed.
Yeah, she got that little twinge of, nostalgia, I guess.
I'll argue she's never had that good of a friendship.
She has, we never saw it.
Yeah.
So then she leaves that store. She tries to call Shoshanna, but Shoshanna's phone has been disconnected. Okay. For more foreshadowing. And then she meets up with Elijah, who is outside of the white men can't jump thing. Yeah, he's on his fourth callback, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're bonding over, still talking about whether Hannah should leave or not. And yeah.
And
it's the same argument.
Yeah, exactly. Except for he tells her she needs to get laid, which sets up the next scene. But then he shows her a duffel bag where he stole a bunch of Chobani yogurts.
Yeah.
And
he's like, come on, this is what we do. This is how we have fun.
It does have a great moment where she's like, I don't know if I've ever made any like real friendships or something, or
no, she said she never made any kind of impact on the city.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, but you made all these great friends or something. And then there's an awkward pause, and then he's like, no, I'm just joking.
Yeah, they both start cracking up immediately. He's like, that's not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think of all the friendships you've made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Elijah's like, oh, I got to get back to this audition. It's like, let me know whether or not I got the part. Are we got fuck buddies, or are you going to commit? So he goes back in there, and Hannah lays down on the bench, and then we see her on the subway, and there's some guy giving her the eyes. And this is also kind of foreshadowed too in the conversation with the professor lady, because she's like, the men that hit on me when I'm pregnant, I get hit on all the time because my boobs were popping and all that shit.
Okay.
And then Elijah's like, you need to get laid. More of that. So then we get to the subway scene where this guy's reading some book and he's making eyes at her, and Hannah's eating it up. And then they're like kind of flirting back and forth. And then he's like, get off at the next stop. She's like, okay. And then everybody gets up, and then the guy sees that she's pregnant. And he's kind of like, do you need help up the stairs, ma'am? And she's like, all right, the ma'am was a little overkill.
Yeah. It was like, the problem is you see it coming from a mile away, you know?
Yeah.
Like just the way it's framed, where only her head's seen and he can't see her stomach, you know?
Yeah.
And he's got this book that says like The Secrets or Mysteries of Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that one. Yeah. And spoiler alert, if you're expecting Hannah to get laid at the end of this, she doesn't.
No?
Just double setups and no payoff on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when Elijah's like, you need to get laid, and she's like, yeah, who's gonna want to fuck me?
Yeah.
I'm pregnant and like I'm a hot mess. And he's like, you could probably find somebody. And then we smash to this guy making eyes at her.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh, you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Do you need help up the stairs? I wish that line delivery was a little bit more like that, because his was like a lot more straightforward. That makes it seem like he didn't ever, like it made it seem like he knew that she was pregnant the whole time.
Yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't a actor panic. It wasn't like he panicked and was like, what can I do to like salvage this flirtation I had? It was like a guy that was just helping a lady the whole time.
Yeah.
Like there's no acknowledgement of the moment of realizing, oh, she is pregnant, you know?
Yeah. There's a little like close up on his face where you see him like go from a smile to like a little realization. But then his read of the line was like, do you need help up the stairs, ma'am?
Yeah. Not like he's playing it off, you know?
Yeah. That needed a different read. Director Joe.
I know. I felt the same way. It was like the shot. It was something lacking, and I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that scene, we see Hannah walking up to her apartment, and holy motherfucking shitballs. I wrote it in all caps, and I'm going to show Vance on the webcam right now. Caroline is back?
It is in all caps.
Caroline is just sitting on the stoop with Sample, little baby Sample, and Hannah's like, Caroline, what are you doing here? And Caroline's like, oh my God, Hannah, it's so good to see you. I'm glad to be back. I needed some time away, and I needed to get a healthy dose of pills in order to treat my fucked up mindset and get away from the city and all this shit. And Hannah's like, okay.
Well, I'm just happy Caroline's got help. I mean,
I know.
I was just like, yeah, this is the one payoff that I'm like, all right, we had to do this, and this is all you needed. You just need her back and say she's medicated now, and great. Now we don't.
Yeah, and she had I think she said a lengthy stay at a hospital.
Yeah, but the last episode made it seem like she had run away and no one knew where she was. Maybe they still didn't know where she was. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel so bad for Laird because he obviously like took her back. I would not have done that.
I think Laird has to take her back. One, she left when she was definitely mentally unstable due to, I thought it was most likely postpartum, but who knows? She already had like some mental ailments and that she was struggling with before that. But he was with her before he had the baby. Like it was something about her he liked from the beginning. And if she can get that mental balance and chemical imbalance together to put her back on a normal level, what does he have to lose exactly? Like now he has.
I don't know, man. She could run away again.
Okay, but then he's still in the same spot. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter. If she runs away again, he's still in where he is now.
But she was also like pretty abusive towards him as well.
That, yeah, maybe she's better. I can't speak to their relationship now that she's medicated. I don't know.
I'm just glad that we finally got some closure on what happened there, because that was like a thing where I kept bringing it up every time we talked about Adam or saw Sample. It's like, Caroline's still not back. We still have no idea what happened with her. And now it wasn't even like a throwaway line like we kind of got with Charlie that first time. Mm-hmm. It was like, no, Caroline's back. Here's her explanation for what happened.
We should have known that she would come back, because like Charlie, he came back after that line.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
And I gotta say, I kind of love Sample in those little beanies.
Oh yeah,
I do.
Sample's adorable.
Yeah,
Sample
she's
also
adorable.
Like Sample looks like she aged like 2 years as well.
Yeah, like she's like, I love watching kids in scenes, because they're always looking around at the crew and the lights when scenes are happening. If you're like, yeah, and Sample's no different.
So yeah, Caroline's back and she's making a big hubbub about Hannah being pregnant. She's like, oh my God, I see that you're with child. And she's like, oh my God, this is so great for you. It's going to be awesome. And then Hannah's like, yeah, well, I might not be around for that much longer because I'm thinking about leaving the city. And then that's when Caroline's like, oh my God, leaving the city was probably what was best for me, along with, pills and a lengthy hospital stay. But I allow you to leave the city. I free you from this city. You are free like a bird. And she starts like spinning around. And this is where Hannah's fuse has run out, and she's just kind of like, all right, I'm leaving. Goodbye. This was enough.
Yeah.
And I felt the exact same.
I love that. It was like, I forgot something, and she leaves. I'm like, that's the best decision she made all day.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's all that Hannah needed from Caroline. And that's all I needed from Caroline. To be like, all right, she's back. She had to go to the hospital. She's on some pills. Hopefully she's better. Whatever.
She plays the hell out of that role, and I think that's the favorite one of our favorite characters of our friend of the podcast, Jeremy, who was in the bonus episode. Yeah,
Talking props with
Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, that character was definitely really interesting and had some wild swings of drama and hilarity. And yeah, glad to see that she is not dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Hannah tries to call Marnie again, and this time we actually see Marnie look at her phone, see that Hannah's calling, and purposefully not pick it up. Like the first time that Hannah called, we just see Hannah, and it's like, oh, it's going right to Marnie's voicemail. But this time we see Marnie look at the phone and be like, I'm not picking this shit up. And but every time that Hannah calls, she leaves a voicemail that's like, hey, I really need to talk to you about something important. Like, this is some big life situation going on. Will you please call me back? And Marnie has yet to do that.
Well, and Marnie is dressed up. She's in the city, and she's carrying a present, it looks like, when we see her. And I was like, interesting. I was surprised she's not just like on the couch at her mom's place. She's got something. I didn't even know if we would see her this episode, because it's like she shows up so late. Yeah.
And when I saw her not pick up the phone and she had all that stuff, I didn't even think about like, oh, she might be going to a party or anything. I was just like, oh, this is just Marnie running errands. Like,
all right.
Who knows, man? I didn't know. This show's fucking wild, dude. I don't know what's going on. So after all of her calls are being ignored, Shoshanna's phone's disconnected, Marnie's ignoring her calls, Hannah just straight up goes to Shoshanna's place. And
before we get into this,
okay,
would she have ever gone to Shoshanna's place?
I don't know.
I can't believe that she would have gone to her. Like, of all the places to go, I don't think she would have just randomly showed up at Shoshanna. Well, okay. I'll give it this, that they've been doubling down on the friendship thing this episode. So maybe she's like, I'm going to find one of them. And she's still not cool with Jessa. And she can't get in touch with Marnie. And Marnie doesn't live in the city. So I guess Shoshanna is the only of the quote unquote girls that she could just pop by and see.
Yeah, that does make sense. Now that you've laid it out like that, I don't think that Shoshanna would have been... I mean, obviously, it's not her first choice.
Yeah, I talked myself out of my own argument.
Basically. Yeah. But so she buzzes and then immediately gets let in. There's no like, hey, who is it? They're like, what's going on? Who, whatever. And Hannah's even a little suspicious of this. She gets buzzed right in. She's like, huh, okay. She goes in. And also, I need to lay out that Hannah is wearing a pink t-shirt and overalls that are shorts.
Shorteralls.
Shorteralls, okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember what they were called.
I mean, you're
in my head.
You haven't done a Joe's Fashion Corner in a long time, so you're a little rusty.
Well, I feel like this is important for the scene that's about to happen.
Oh, no, it definitely is.
So she is wearing like this very kind of laid back, she got her pregnant belly going. And so she walks up to Shoshanna's apartment, which, when did she start living at this place? This place looks completely different.
I do think this is the same place that Ray was staying, but we didn't see a lot of it.
This place looks so much nicer to me.
Well, it's a little more dressed up. It's a little more dressed up, and there's beautiful people everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, maybe it's because of the classy-ass people that are there. Maybe it's because it's a party. But Hannah walks in, and there's a big party happening. Everybody's dressed up pretty nicely. It's like kind of like cocktail dresses and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And we see Shoshanna in like a white gown. And I was like, did Shoshanna get married just now? Like, what the...
I didn't even think that right away. I was just like, this is a lavish party. Like, I was like, is Ray here? Who else is here? Like, I was just like, what's going on? Yeah.
Well, what struck me is like, she's wearing a white gown. No one else was wearing a white gown. And it looked like a really, like a wedding dress to me. Yeah. So I was like, is this her getting married? She walks up to Shoshanna and she's like, hey, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? And Shoshanna's like, oh, wow. This is not a good time. And Hannah's like, yeah, I'm guessing. I see that you're having a party. You didn't invite me. And she's like, well, look at how classy everybody's dressed up. And then you showed up, number one, late. Number two, wearing overalls, which is so you.
Yeah. I mean, she said uninvited, not late, because she's not invited at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's like, and you're here crashing my engagement party. And when she said that, I was like, who is she engaged to?
No, I mean, the best thing was that she was like, you haven't, I don't know if this happened before or after, but when she says, like, you didn't invite me to the party. And she's like, well, I was like the last person to know about your pregnancy. Yeah. I don't really think that we're like, and that signified our friendship level, when I was just like on the bottom of that totem pole of knowing that you were pregnant. And I was like, yeah, Shoshanna, spitting fire. That's like...
Yeah, she said something about like, you told me after you've told literally everyone else on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hot line. I forgot about that.
And I was like, yeah, Shoshanna, you're not a part of this group. And you kind of never were.
Yeah. And Hannah looks like hurt and dejected. And she's like, I mean, I guess you can stay if you want, but like this is my engagement party and don't be a fucking asshole. Basically.
She's like, I'm going to mingle with guests because that would be rude not to. Like, yeah. And I don't know. I just love Shoshanna's fire in this scene.
Oh, dude, Shoshanna is fiery this whole time.
Yeah.
But when you heard that she was engaged, who did you think that she was engaged to? Did you think it was going to be somebody random or somebody from the past?
I was thinking random. Because the only other person from the past would be like Soup Guy.
That's what I thought it was going to be Soup Guy.
And I was like, if it's Soup Guy, then Shoshanna just failed. Like, because she had already mentioned, like, half-heartedly that, oh, maybe I'll just marry the Soup Guy and, like, that'll be my life, So if she had done that, it's kind of her settling. But instead, it's a random dude, which is great. Fine by me. I'm all about people getting out of the friend circle in relationships.
So, we see that Shoshanna's engaged, and then out of the back, Marnie emerges, and Hannah's like, Marnie, what the fuck? I've been calling you all day, and you haven't picked up my calls, and now I see you at fucking Shoshanna's engagement party. Like, what's the deal? And then Marnie is like, let's go into the bathroom. We need to talk about this privately. And then, so they go into the bathroom, and she's like, look, I didn't pick up your calls because I knew that you weren't invited to this, and I didn't want you to know about it. And it's like, man, dude, the backstabbing.
Well, I don't even know. Well, I'm surprised. I will say this. I'm surprised Marnie's invited.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm surprised Marnie's invited. The only reason I could see for Marnie being invited, if I'm going to talk myself back out, is that at least she would come presentable.
Okay. Yeah, good point.
Like she's going to dress up and look the part of the people in that room.
Yeah, but you know that Marnie would like...
Yeah.
You know that she like break out her acoustic guitar and be like, this song is for Shoshanna and Byron.
Yeah.
I love you guys ever since I heard about you, and I just want to give a special shout out. And you know that some shit like that's gonna happen, I feel.
You don't invite Marnie. I like, has she been talking to Marnie about the engagement? Like, how are they friends?
I mean, apparently, because Marnie's the one who spills the beans to Hannah about how they met, and they're like, they met at a Sprinkles cupcake vending machine, and they just hit it off. And it seems like they haven't been dating for very long, and even Shoshanna mentions that in her like engagement speech.
Yeah.
But it's just like she's got all the intel, and Hannah's like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah. And it's funny, they don't like really play it up like, well, you've been pregnant and we didn't want to bother you. It's like, no, even if you weren't pregnant, you were still going to be out of the loop.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So then they leave the bathroom, and Shoshanna's giving a speech about like how lucky she is to be engaged to this guy Byron, who is the love of her life. And, they met and it's very sudden and everything, but they know it's the right choice, and love is love and you can't question it, blah, blah, blah. And then from the back also emerges Elijah, which I was like, wow.
I know. I love
this.
This
is insane.
Yeah. That was great. And he had just seen Hannah too.
Yeah. Elijah keeping his mouth shut about something too?
Well, here's my thing though. I could see he would have to play it off. Like, he doesn't even act shocked when she's there. Like, oh my God, Hannah's here. How is she going to react? He's been keeping this secret from her to a point where, like, we've seen how Hannah reacts to this stuff. She would kick him out, like, right then. like if she kicks him out for finding out he slept with Marnie, or like whatever we want to call that, hooked up with Marnie or whatever, like, becoming friends with Shoshanna and not telling about this would be like the biggest breach of their friendship.
Yeah. I mean, Hannah looks back at him and she's like, Elijah, you're here? And he's like, yeah, I'm here. Shoshanna and I are bros.
Which I loved. I could kind of see their weird energy vibing.
I can't.
Which, I was mad. I was mad that we didn't get a chance to see more of them bonding during that networking event. Because I think that would have been a nice time to, like, show.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Shoshanna Elijah hanging out.
Well, that was the first time, and then we didn't really get it,
Well, they're bros, apparently.
Yeah.
And then, as if it couldn't get any worse, Jessa is there as well.
She comes over completely unaware of anything, it seems. Like she comes over and then Hannah's just like, oh, I can't deal with you right now. And Jess was like, hey, what's up? Like not even like reacting as if Adam has tried to go and raise her kid at one point. Like not like they just had a big blow up. She's just like, hey, what up? Like, like it was the weirdest entrance. I was like, wouldn't you walk over and be a little like more subdued and like, all right, hey, how's it? You know, like,
dude.
Yeah.
And after this, I think Shoshanna comes over and then Marnie's like calls a group meeting in the bathroom.
Oh, I hate this like this mother hen. I hate Marnie when she does this. Like she's calling the meeting.
Dude. And then they go to the bathroom. Like everyone's like, I don't think that's a good idea. Shoshanna's like, this is so stupid. And Marnie's like, no, we're having a group meeting in the bathroom right now. We need to talk this out.
Because at first she says, let's go outside. And everyone's like, nope. Yeah. Shoshanna's like, not at all. Like, but Shoshanna did have a good reason to go to the bathroom because she said apparently the worse the engagement party, the better the wedding. So that was her.
So Marnie calls them all into the bathroom and she's like, we need to hash this shit out. I've been going to online therapy and my therapist is saying like, we need to like talk about our feelings. So we all need to express ourselves and we can do this healthily. And it's like a rehash of the beach house scene.
I wrote that down. I'm not even going to show it to you because I know you believe me without me showing you written proof. But
I wrote it down. You wrote it down. Wikipedia has it written down.
Wikipedia has it written down.
All right, Vance. Calm down.
No, that would have been funny. You almost did it. You pulled it back.
But yeah, Wikipedia even mentions that this is reminiscent of the beach house scene, and it's because nothing has really changed. Hannah brings up, she's like, I don't like that Jessa's here, and like I fucking feel like I can't remember what each of the girls say. Do you?
What Marnie's going on about like feeling better, like the whole like what you just said about her online therapist or whatever. And then
no, Hannah says that she feels really shitty that she wasn't invited to the party.
Hannah says that, and then Jessa says something.
Jessa basically does the like, I've been personally victimized by Hannah, like Regina George.
Oh yeah, she's like, I don't want to be like looked at like as some like sexual harpy witch, Jezebel,
yeah,
like,
Jezebel or a witch, mostly by Hannah.
Yeah, and then they start to argue a little bit, and then Shoshanna just drops the hammer. And she's like,
She's
like, this is why we're not. This is why we're not friends, because we can't get together in a room without somebody making it about themselves and a big argument blowing up, you know? And it's just like, and she's like, I think we should call it. You see those people out there that have jobs and are nice to each other? Those are my new friends now. My life is with Byron. Like, she shows the the engagement ring, and she's like, yeah, that's it.
And then fucking dips out.
I was like, yes.
It was incredible. And it was incredible, dude. Because it was like the best points made in this show. She's like, we're not friends anymore. Like, all of us, you're all narcissists. And she knows this because Byron's been through all 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, it was Al-Anon, not Alcoholics Anonymous. Al-Anon is a different one. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. Al-Anon is like if you know people that are on, if you're a relative or friend of people that are alcoholics, kind of. It's different.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that it was just like a shortening of Alcoholics Anonymous, and
No, Al-Anon's completely different.
Was today years old, man. I learned that. But she sees that like all of their relationship is unhealthy, and she's like, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm good with calling off our friendship. Like, I'm done with y'all.
Yeah. I was like, remember we were talking last episode about how Hannah has everybody, but like the other girls don't really have people. Apparently, Shoshanna has a lot of people.
Dude, Shoshanna's got a fucking fiance that we never knew about, especially because like 2 episodes ago, we saw her like getting butthurt that Ray's hanging out with Abigail.
That was a weird, like, looking back on that, like, I don't know if I think she was more like, oh my God, this is happening, not like hurt by it. Like, I don't know, she got like sidetracked in that episode for some reason.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of time, it's been like 3 months, right?
Between that episode and this one?
Yeah, I feel Hannah was not this big. I don't know.
She was pretty big.
No, she had like a bump, but she's much bigger now.
Huh. Yeah, I was going to ask, how long do you think that Shoshanna and Byron have been together?
I would say like 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you know.
Yeah.
And then so Shoshanna leaves. Hannah says something like, well, Shoshanna's going to get her wish because I got offered a job in upstate New York at a college, and she's never going to see me again, and none of you will see me ever again, too. And then Marnie's like, you got offered a job in upstate New York and you're leaving the city? How come you didn't tell me? And she's like, I've been trying to fucking call you all day, but you've been keeping a secret about a party from me, and that's why you're finding out about this now. So, fuck you, deuces.
Yeah, I mean, Marnie, come on.
Right? Right?
like that, that's like the exclamation point on what Shoshanna was saying. You made her moving about you, not telling you right away.
It was the most unaware sentence. Like, Hannah's like, I've been trying to call you to talk to you about this, and you didn't pick up because you're keeping a secret from me. Like, it was so crazy.
So weird. I mean, just classic Marnie. Just like a little bit of screen time, still so unlikable.
Unbelievably unlikable. Oh my God. And Hannah went on this whole rant about like, you know what? Of course I'm leaving this city. This city sucks. I saw a guy taking a shit on the street earlier today, and then I thought about all the times I saw poop on the street, assuming that it was just dogs, and then it was like my life flashed before my eyes of all the poop I've seen, thinking that it's dogs, and it's probably like 50-50 human, 50-50 dog. She's like, of course I'm leaving. This place fucking sucks. It's no place to raise a kid.
And then I think does she leave the bathroom right then?
Then she leaves the bathroom. And then Jessa.
I'll let you drive this. You're having too much fun.
Jessa brings up the most salient point. This is where I identified the most with Jessa here. She's like, there's 8 million fucking people in this city. There's shit all over the streets. Of course, not all of that shit is going to be dog shit. Of course it's going to be human shit somewhere. And she looks at Marnie and she's like, you've shit in the street, right? And Marnie's like, no. And Jess is like, you mean to tell me? Every time you've pooped, it's been into a toilet. And Marnie goes, yes. And then Jessa goes, you're impossible. And then gets up and fucking leaves.
It's so dumb and so funny.
It was hilarious, and I loved it because I've pooped on the streets. I feel like you've never pooped on the street.
I cannot recall a time that I've pooped on the street.
This is the one time
I don't go camping, and I don't go camping, so yeah.
I pooped on the street like last week, actually.
What? 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 That seems like something you actively set out to do. That doesn't seem like something that just happened. It seems like you left your house to poop on the street.
No.
Yeah, you're like, oh, where should I poop today? Open Google Maps, place a random pin. Is that what you did?
So here's the story.
Oh man.
So I eat fruit and I get diarrhea a lot. All right, fruit gives me diarrhea.
That's not how you start the story. I do something that causes my body to reject it. Oh.
So it's also like 50-50 on if I'll get diarrhea, all right? So I don't know if I'm going to get diarrhea all the time.
That's a gamble I'm not willing to take 50% of the time.
Okay, Vance, we get it. You're better than me. So the other day,
and you're the one that doesn't drink or do drugs.
Hey, Vance, you're impossible. I'm going to fucking quote Jessa here. So I had eaten a bunch of fruit earlier this one day, and then my buddy hit me up and he was like, yo, you want to go on a hike? So we go to Fryman Park, right? And we're doing the hike, and we're about finished this hike, and I start to feel my stomach grumbling, and I'm like, oh man, like I don't know if I'm gonna make it to this bathroom, because there's a bathroom like right around where me and this dude parked. And so I told him, I was like, dude, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go right now. And he's like, you can't wait? Like we were like, a 20-minute walk away from this bathroom. And I'm like, I definitely. And then I tried to wait and like take a couple more steps, and I was like, no, I definitely can't wait. So I go up into this like little side street, and I pop a squat, poop, take off my jacket, wipe with the jacket, put the jacket over the poop, just leave that jacket. It's a loss. Just bought that jacket. It was $30 from Target. I've owned it for like 2 months tops. Put the jacket over the poop, because as I'm finishing up, I hear 3 people coming to walk up this little side street, and I'm like, oh, gotta wrap this up. Run back down so that I don't get like caught with poop all over the place. Me and this guy, like, we go back to the bathroom, and I'm glad that I did not wait to go to that bathroom, because when we got back to the bathroom, it was clogged and there was like overflowing with pee all over the toilet seat. So I wouldn't have been able to poop in that toilet anyway. So that's only one time I've pooped on it. I've pooped on the street several times.
You should stop eating fruit for one.
What? Fruit is super healthy.
Maybe it's not good for you then. Because if fruit can be healthy, but it should be giving you diarrhea 50% of the time.
I think I just overdo it though. Like I'll eat like 3 apples a day, and then like a whole packet of blueberries and like a bunch of mandarin oranges.
That's all I'm saying.
Chill out. I should limit it, Vance, but it's too tasty. Okay. I also wasn't anticipating going on a hike that day.
So you taper it down to 2 apples.
Yeah, if I had known I was going on a hike, I wouldn't have eaten so much fruit.
Did you throw the coat away?
I can't wait. Yeah, no, I left that coat there.
So that mess is just there in the wilderness.
Not only did I poop on the street, Vance, I littered a jacket. Can't wait to see the fucking 5-star review for the podcast where it's like, yeah, Vance is cool. Joe talks about poop way too much.
Yeah, I might write that one. My God. All right, let's move on to Jessa and Hannah's emotional reconciliation.
Yeah. So after everybody leaves the bathroom. So Hannah's just like standing there kind of flabbergasted, much like Vance is right now.
It's all getting left in the podcast too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great story.
It's not a great story. It's terrible. It's horrible.
Oh man,
God, we're so close to being done with this series.
I know.
we made it this far, and then you just.
I had to sabotage it, Vance.
This was a nice family-friendly podcast. This was a family-friendly podcast before that story.
It's never been a family. You shut your fucking mouth about this. You put a poll on our Facebook.
No, you put the poll. No, you put the poll on the Facebook.
Vance, I'm barely on Facebook anymore.
I'm not putting that poll. You put it.
Put a poll to see if people have pooped out in the wild before.
Oh my God! This harkens back. This harkens back to the time you wanted to live on the podcast ask on Facebook who ever used a dildo with no context at all. And I was like, this podcast isn't coming out for weeks. And you were just going to write on Facebook.
Vance, you make a poll. Make a poll. Screenshot Jessa saying that she poops in the street. Make a poll. Have you guys pooped on the street? Or yeah. Because that I need to know. I'm going to say it's 90% no, 10% yes. And I'm going to say that 10% is going to be solely from my vote.
We have a really strong female listener base, like high. So it's going to be really interesting if it's the higher rate than.
I've seen women pee on the street a lot.
Yeah, guys. I've peed on it. Like taking a poop on the street's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Peeing on the street, that's a no-brainer. Everybody does that. But women pee on the street, it's different. I've had to do a thing where I have my back to them and I open my jacket to block other people from seeing them as they're peeing on the street. Pooping on the street, I will give you, is next level. I would say that I've probably done it 8 or 9 times.
Why are we still talking about this?
I don't know. So Hannah's a flabbergasted. And Jessa comes up to her and just kind of mopey and she comes up to her and she's like, yeah, I mean, I was barely invited to this party as well. It's really hard to move on from this. But
we're moving on. We're professionals. Move on.
Yes. And she's like, I was barely invited to this party as well. The only reason that I got invited is because I called Shoshanna earlier today because I forgot my ATM number or my PIN number at the ATM, and Shoshanna knows it. And then she just kind of was like, oh, well, I'm also having this party. And Hannah's like, you don't need to say that to make me feel better. I don't like you still.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting because then they start to bond when they start tearing up a little bit, and then
Hannah tells her about the job, and Jessa then Hannah asks her how's school. Jessa's like, I quit, which is another thing that we got closure on. We were asking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of money that Adam spent flushed down the toilet.
I guess she's still with Adam too, because I mean, this passes the Bechdel test. They don't talk about a guy in this scene. They don't they're not. It's not about Adam at this point, which I think is nice, even though it's the thing I'm most curious about.
Yeah, I feel like they're still together. The end of the last episode would make you assume that, right?
Yeah, but time has passed.
That's true. Sample's 6 years old now.
No, she was this age last episode. Yeah.
So, Hannah's like, well, why'd you quit school? And then Jess is like, I needed to take a look in the mirror, and I realized I wasn't ready to help people yet because I needed to work on myself, basically. And then she gives Hannah, she's like, I got you a present. She gives it to her. It's a dress for a baby. And then Hannah's like, that'd be great, except that this is a boy.
She said, I'm having a boy, and it's the dress. So,
yeah. And then she's like, it's okay. I mean, I appreciate the thought. No one would, you're the first person I'm telling about the sex of the baby anyway. She's like, what the fuck am I going to do with a boy? What if I raise him wrong and fuck him up and he turns out to rape a bunch of people? And I was like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Hey, I mean, that's where her mind goes, man. We heard it last episode, too.
Yeah.
I think it was funny. I thought it was funny when she said, you're the first person I'm telling about this. Because I was just thinking of Marnie and Shoshanna being mad that they don't know about the sex of the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Why was I the third person to find out?
Yeah. I feel like their friend group is one of those things that you have to have a meeting of everyone to be like, all right, everybody at the same time so nobody gets butthurt.
Yeah.
Everyone at the same time, I'm having a boy. Yes. And then they're all like, oh, cool. And then afterwards, Hannah goes to the bathroom and then they're like, did you know? Did you know about this? Did you know?
Did she really tell us all at the same time, or did one of you know first? Yeah.
Exactly. So this is when stuff gets kind of emotional, and Jessa apologizes to Hannah for basically everything that's happened in this series.
Well, yeah, it was the point where she said, "Oh, I stopped teaching, or I quit school. I had to look in the mirror, like my mom always said." And then Hannah's like, "What did you say?" And she's like, "A bitch." And then like Hannah laughs, and that's it. Once you self-deprecate yourself and get the other person to laugh, then bygones be bygones.
Game set match.
Yeah. And I was going to say, this is
coming.
Clearly a scene where we do not understand female friendships at all. Like, because the venom that they had towards each other was really ripe, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And for it just to be undone. Like, I've seen them get in fight. Marty and Hannah had a huge blowout where they moved out of the apartment. Like, they were screaming in rooms. Like, it was huge. They got back together, but it took a little time. And it slowly trickled in. This seemed like, nothing's really changed, but okay, we're cool.
Yeah. And
it's fine. I think you need a little bit of that after Shoshanna being like, I'm out.
Yeah. So then, Jessa apologizes. They both start crying. Hannah apologizes. And they're like, I don't even know who's apologizing for what because we've both been so horrible to each other. So let's just call it even. And then they're like, you want to enjoy this party and do the high class thing? And she's like, you know it, bitch.
Well, do you think Hannah should have mentioned that she slept with Adam just before, just so that they could clear that air too?
I don't know, man. I feel like that would just like open the wound up again.
Yeah.
Do you think if Hannah would have? You think if Hannah was like, I fucked Adam while I was like 2 weeks ago or whatever?
I think
Jessa would.
I think it would make it
like,
even.
I banged some guy at a bar.
I think it would make it even where she's like, all right, I'll allow you to have that one. I could see Jessa being like, all right, you know, like because she's okay because he came back to her, you know. But we also forgot to mention that I don't know if we mentioned this through all the poop is that Elijah got the role in the musical.
Oh yeah. I forgot. Yeah, I did miss that. I had to go on my poop story.
Yep.
Elijah gets the role, and he's going to fucking celebrate it. And Hannah, don't expect him back until noon tomorrow.
Yeah,
because he's gonna rage.
Yep. I think he was gonna rage regardless.
Absolutely, he was. So after Hannah and Jessa kind of make up, we get a dance montage, a very nostalgic, like we're saying goodbye to each other dance montage where it shows each of the girls doing their own thing and dancing, and some of them come together at the end and some of them don't, and we see Shoshanna with Byron and they're smooching and all lovey-dovey. Hannah's dancing by herself in her weird way. Jessa's dancing by herself in her weird way. Marnie's dancing around like 4 dudes and then like giving out business cards or some shit.
Yeah, that shot. I was going to ask you, like, what do you think she's giving out? Like cards to her band? Like,
I have no clue.
What is she like? And why are they? It looks like maybe she's working as an escort or something. Like, I have no idea. Like, it's just like 4 guys around this one girl. They all 4 guys look like they don't know each other, you know?
Yeah. It looks really predatory.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jessa's bonding with people, handing out cookies or some type of snack.
Yeah, they put cupcakes over their nipples or something. Hannah and Jessa do.
Yeah. At first I thought they were just going to be so wild that everyone else at the party would be like, ugh, I don't want to be around them. But they seem to integrate in fine. And that happens at any New York party, people. If you're in New York, it's just like, yeah.
Well, they found their own circles, it seemed like.
Yeah. I mean, that's what parties are. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get Hannah just kind of like looking at each of the girls and, you know, I don't know, I just getting nostalgic, I guess, about their friendship and whatever. And then this is like interspliced with visuals of her driving and moving to her new place upstate.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's pretty much the episode. And that's why I felt like this had such a finality to it that was like, we're all going our separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
this is all you need to see. But there's still one more episode.
Yeah, it was that thing where I was like, when the editing first started happening, that cross-cutting between the party and her actually moving into her place, I wasn't sure if it was going to be her thinking about moving into her place and seeing how that would be, and then being like, I can't leave these lovable idiots. You know, for one moment it looked like, oh, maybe she's questioning moving. And I was like, not after what happened in the bathroom. Like, like that bathroom should have solidified. Like, you have nothing here. Like, and your dad lives in New York, which is like a huge boon because he would have been in Michigan before.
Yeah.
So the dad's closer.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Tad has moved on with his life like crazy. Like, we haven't really talked about that much.
Yeah, I mean, he's living in New York now with Keith.
Yeah, like
they're fully together, dude.
Yeah, they're in it.
Something about this episode made me miss living in New York, though. Like, just seeing all the nostalgia, like, it made me like, oh, man, did I fuck up leaving New York? And, like, I'm thinking about possibly, like, leaving LA sometime soon. And it's kind of like, oh, am I going to have to go through this with LA as well? But, yeah.
Just buyer's remorse on every city that you, or seller's remorse, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, there's good things about every city and there's bad things about every city. I mean, yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, and New York is a fun city. And this probably takes you a little back to being slightly younger with a different friend group too when you're watching this.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's more nostalgia. It's more nostalgia for that time period that just happened to take place while you were in New York, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was texting with my friend the other day who still lives in New York, and we were just reminiscing about all of our friends and all the places that we used to go, all the open mics we used to hit up, and, you know, all of the friends that we had, like, a lot of them have quit comedy, and a lot of the places that we used to do comedy have closed down, and it's just like, oh, man, it's so fucking sad. But then, you know, there's so much more future to live, Vance.
I know, it just keeps going no matter what happens.
Hey, Vance, I'm going to quote this gypsy punk band called Gogol Bordello. There were never any good old days. They are today and they are tomorrow, Vance.
It's not a bad quote.
Yeah.
No.
And speaking of, you have any final thoughts on this episode before we preview the last episode of this series?
I was going to say that I thought this episode was going to end up having a Broad City vibe to it. The ending of Broad City, which is kind of a spoiler, but not really. It's like one of them moves out of New York, you know? And I thought like it was just going to be, and that one's different because it's just the two friends that are always together. So it was like a bigger thing with like, oh my God, you're leaving me. But the other girl had her own thing. It would be like if Shoshanna and Hannah were best friends and Shoshanna was doing her thing. And then, Hannah was moving away and Shoshanna didn't want that to happen because she couldn't handle it by herself, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then I feel like they twisted it by not being like, oh, but we're really good friends. They kind of were like, hey, we're not. Which was like, I thought was just such a good way to do it, you know?
Yeah. And I don't even think it's like we're not friends. It was just like we've grown apart. We have different priorities in life and we can't hang on to this friendship.
Yeah, I mean, they're friends. They're people that they've always known each other. Like they've had these moments and experiences together that just don't go away. You've always had them, you know? If you hear about something that Shoshanna did this or this and that, you'll be like, oh, okay. Like I'm intrigued by it. Like you might not even see Hannah, but you're like, oh, she had a baby? I didn't know she was pregnant. You're curious about it, you know? But no, I like the way they approach what feels like a finale episode.
This really does feel like a finale, dude.
Yeah.
In our canon, this is a finale.
Yeah. In our canon, yeah. We'll see. Maybe we'll love the next episode, though.
Maybe, but I don't know. This one just felt so final. Like, I'd be super happy if this was the last episode. I'd be like, all right, well, that's a wrap. We get it. I just don't know what else they could add on to it.
The last point I'll say is, wouldn't Ray be invited to this party?
Absolutely, Ray would be invited to this party.
I don't understand how Ray's not invited to this party.
Dude, if the last thing we see of Ray is that awkward kiss with Abigail, I'm going to be pissed.
No, he'll be in next one, even if it's just like him arm in arm with Abigail at something, you know.
There's got to be a montage.
But I don't get like why you would invite Marnie but not invite Ray.
Ray and Shoshanna are so much closer.
Yeah.
We even saw that when Ray and Marnie were dating, and Shoshanna, Ray and they were having that like fun like banter, and Marnie was getting a little bothered by it. Yeah,
and also Shoshanna wasn't freaked out about Marnie being there with Ray, you know, like so it wouldn't. Yeah, I just who knows casting wise or whatever, but I'm just saying if it's Shoshanna's engagement party, I expect Ray to be there more so than Marnie or Elijah.
Yes.
Jessa's technically
way more
family.
Than Elijah.
Jessa's technically family. I would love to see a family reunion with all of those people. Like, I'm really confused to see like how that family tree lines out. But yeah.
So that is the episode. That is Goodbye Tour. I'm told that I pronounced that incorrectly.
What, Goodbye Tour?
I say tour. And people say that it's tour. And I think that's bullshit.
I don't talk to people, so I don't know.
I say tour like pour. You don't pour a drink. You don't top your drink off. It's you pour. It's tour.
Are you getting like off-air podcast feedback from friends of yours?
Yeah, I mean not on this podcast, but a couple of my friends. They'll trash the way I talk. Tour is one of them, and orange. Apparently, I say orange weird.
I don't know. Sometimes you have a little bit of a Maryland accent that kicks out on certain words.
Well, this is completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Stay tuned for the last episode of this series. It is episode 62, season 6, episode 10. It is titled Latching. Is it about breastfeeding?
Sure. That's all I got. Sure, it's about she's got the baby, it won't latch on, mom has to come visit. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I got nothing. I don't know what it could be. I'm trying to think.
This should have been the last episode.
I'm trying to think what the double meaning of latching could be, you know?
I have no clue. This should have been the last episode. This should have been. It even has the appropriate title.
True. I'm so happy it wasn't Marnie and Desi's goodbye tour, though. I am relieved that wasn't it.
See, you say tour like I say tour.
Okay.
We're in this together, Vance.
All right.
We're partners through and through. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Be on the lookout for our Facebook page poll about whether or not you poop on the street.
And send in any questions. If you listen this long, send into the podcast. Turn it off. DM us or email us some questions for our post-series Q&A. Anything we might have missed or anything that you are curious about or would like to hear our take on.
Exactly. And that is at Boys Watching Girls Podcast on Instagram and boyswatchinggirlspodcast@gmail.com. And see you next time for Latching. See ya.
Of course people shit in the street. You've shit in the street, right?
No.
Oh, you're telling me every shit you've ever taken has been on a toilet?
Yes.
Oh, God. You know you're impossible.